Well, hello everyone. My name is Dara. This is Dear Hallmark, and we're about to talk about some Hallmark movie and mystery stuff today, but I'm not doing it by myself. The guest that we have in the home of Dear Hallmark today, and you see that I turned into an accent because of the name that I gave him. Please welcome the Benjamin of Ayres himself, Mr. Benjamin.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here, Dara the Wonderful.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being here, though, Benjamin. It truly is a pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I've had a busy couple of weeks. I'm happy that we're able to kind of do this now because we've been trying, and I feel bad because I keep changing the date and the time on you. It's just been really busy over here, and I'm happy that we get to connect now. There's been a lot of travel in the last month for me, which is a good thing. And I love your signature. Was it eat well, travel often?
Yes. Yes.
Or was it eat often, travel well? I forget which one it was,
it's
but they both work.
It's interchangeable. For sure. So you were in Costa Rica, right?
So yeah, we went to Costa Rica with some friends of ours from Vancouver who flew to Toronto, and there were 9 of us in total, 4 adults, 5 kids, rented a van, and we got out there and got our adventure on. And it was, have you been?
No, I've never.
No, it's pretty cool. Just wild monkeys and sloths and toucans and lizards. Like you're just out there in it. And the kids, we really wanted to give them kind of an educational, adventurous trip, and we succeeded. And it was very hot, very humid, would rain every day in a good way though. It was kind of nice to have it, but big storms would come in.
Yeah.
Very tropical, and yeah, it was a great time. And then I came back, and then I went to Florida, which is when you and I kind of touched base. And then I got detained. I got detained at the border because they love Hallmark movies and they wanted photos of me. So I had to take photos for the Hallmark fans. And then I got through. I snuck through the border, and then came back. And then I had a quick trip out to Vancouver and back. So it's been I've had a lot going on, but it's been great. And I also I had this. It was so hot in Florida as well, and we were outside. I was golfing. I went with a group of guys. We were out there for 4 days, and I got an incredible heat rash all over my face that came down my face. Like I'm like, wait, what's the monkeypox situation here? Is that what I got? They're like, no, you have heat rash. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to fly to Vancouver to do a chemistry read with an actor for a TV series. So it's like, you got to meet this actor. And I'm like, I felt like my 14-year-old self in high school with acne. It was awesome. And before I went in, I'm like, I don't know, I guess I gotta, I don't have my own makeup. Yes, I've had makeup administered, but I don't walk around with makeup. So I was like, I need to find a makeup artist. You may have even seen me. I posted on Instagram.
I do.
And that's what that was for. And what I ended up doing, I walked into a Sephora, and I was like, hi. I have an issue on my face. I was wondering if you could just kind of help me out here. She's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. Let me see, it's still there. It's just like all of these bumps. Anyway, hilarious. But that went well, and now I'm settled back in Toronto, and it's hot here now. Yeah.
That felt like a roller coaster ride as much as it would have felt for you, I imagine.
It was intense, and there was only a day or two between each trip, and the difference, like Toronto to Vancouver is a long flight, the time change, the thing, so it's been a real whirlwind. And I actually, it's funny, so when I was detained, you're not allowed, I was like, everybody off your phones, you're not allowed to be on your phone. And I had just wanted to kind of capture an image of me in there, so I could kind of let my wife know what's going on. And in that moment, I kind of had opened, it was like before they had told everybody to get off their phones. She didn't see me with it particularly. And I was on Instagram and saw your message, and I was like, hey, sounds good. And I sent you that photo.
Yeah.
And then afterwards was like, wait, what time, what day? Oh, wait. Yeah, I was like, I might not ever get out of here. I don't know. I might need you to send me some help.
Well, I'm glad you're back, and it seems like you're doing well. So that's good.
All's good now. Yeah.
That is good. That is good. So I want to start off right off the bat because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I was watching some clips on YouTube of one of my favorite series and just kind of, being nostalgic and going through it. And I click on this particular clip, and it is, the character is played by Dule Hill. His name is Alex Williams. And there is this character, Gavin Andrews. And who do I see But
I was like, wait,
Mr. Benjamin Ayres.
I think I play that guy.
Like, what in the world? Suits is one of my favorite shows of life. And when I was because Peacock has been uploading the clips to Suits YouTube channel, and they uploaded that clip. And of course, I wasn't aware of you at the time when I was watching the series as it was airing. But then when I was looking back on the clips, I said, no, he didn't. But he did. And he did it. And it was great, sir. Like, how was your time playing that role?
Oh, it was great. So I was a fan of the show as well. I remember when the posters first came out, it was like suits, two dudes in suits. And I was like, that's not for me. For something about the posters, I didn't think I'd like it. But I knew they shot it in Toronto, and I was like, well, I need to watch an episode just to kind of get the gist of the show, because I'm inevitably I'll audition for it one day. And then we started watching it. I was like, this show's amazing. Yes. Love the show. Became a huge fan. And then it added this pressure every time I auditioned for it. I was like, I really want to get on the show. Like, I love the show.
Yeah.
And then there were some misses and some close calls throughout the seasons. And that role in particular, when it came up, they're like, it might run a couple episodes. It could be 2 or 3. We're not too sure. I think then it was 4 or 5. I can't quite remember. But the offer kind of came to play that role over the same dates that we had this wedding we were going to go to in Italy.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I don't know how many episodes it's going to be. At that time, they said it might only be 2, but it wasn't I just wasn't sure. As much as I really wanted to do that show, this is a once in a lifetime kind of wedding. We really want to go to these good family friends. So I was considering not doing it. And then they called and said, no, we're on a hiatus that week because Meghan Markle's getting married. And we're all going to that wedding.
Yes.
Like, what? So my first day on set, so like my wardrobe fitting before was us all talking about the weddings we're going to. And then, my first day on set was listening to everybody talk about the experience of being at that wedding, which was, so that just the start of it, that alone was great.
Wow.
And then getting to be on that show was, just to be at that first read through and see all those actors there. It was like, I was a little giddy. I was like nervous kind of being there. I was like, it's interesting to be on a show that you're a fan of.
Yeah.
And that show, it's a lot of dialogue and there's not a lot of movement. You're just standing and you're still and you're barking. And it's just like, it's just like intellectual tennis, it's just like, yeah.
Literally, it's like chess, like watching, see how they'll go, what they'll say, who's going to do checkmate with the blue folder next. It's like,
that's right.
I love that show. That's so cool. So now bringing it back, because I needed to start off with that. How did you get into acting? Was that something that you always knew that you wanted to do when you were a kid, or did it happen later for you in life?
Let me ask you a question first for context, just so I can kind of, because I was doing a quick little research on you on Wikipedia. Right? There's a whole Wikipedia page. So it says Dara the Wonderful, host of Dear Hallmark. Now you'll have to, because you never know what's true on Wikipedia or not. Says that you got your master's, is that right? In interior design, or is it interior design or architecture?
Interior architecture.
Interior architecture. So that's awesome. Because you never know if they're I never know if they're like, if I can trust what's being said on Wikipedia. And my question to you is, did you stumble into that? Was that something you always knew you wanted to do? Or were you more like, okay, I'm at that point in my life where I have to make a decision and I start to kind of lay decisions out in certain situations in front of me and start to look at paths? Or is this something you kind of always knew you wanted to do?
I always had an interest in it since I was a kid, because I grew up watching a lot of interior design shows and just became fascinated with paints and colors and geometric shapes. But I also unlocked this love of writing. So I got my bachelor's in English, and when it was about time to graduate, and I saw that pursuing a master's in English required me to take another like standardized test, the GRE. I was like, I don't want to do that. So what else can I do where I don't have to take a test? And so I said,
wow,
what can I literally, and that's how I stumbled upon the interior architecture program, because it was tailored for people who didn't have an architecture background. So my program was 3 years as opposed to the normal 2. So
wow.
That's
cool. And what are you doing now? Are you a writer? Because we talked, you said outside of your day job, you get to do this, which we're going to get back to. But you also are you a writer now, or are you fully in architecture as well?
So I am a writer, and I just got a new job. I'm a business development analyst at an investment
Oh,
firm. So I
good
do
for
writing
you.
and editing on that job as well. But I've published a couple of books, self-published a couple of books. So
We can make them into Hallmark movies. Could we?
that's a
I
possibility.
mean, wow.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. So number 2 on the
Oh my
Wikipedia
God.
page said that you started this podcast. Was it in 2020? Kind of like right once the pandemic started. So this is a two-parter. Were you a huge Hallmark fan for years that then decided, I kind of want to get out and talk about it and spread the love, or was it that you kind of watched a couple films and you're like how did you fall into loving Hallmark films so much so that you wanted to start a podcast about them?
Well, I grew up watching the Christmas ones. My mom always had those on, and I loved the feeling that it gave me as I watched them. And
Yeah.
I would always like in my adult life, I never had the opportunity to watch the Christmas movies as they aired because I would always be consumed with the church's annual Christmas production. So I really wouldn't be able, and to me, watching a Hallmark movie is a part of my celebration of Christmas. So it didn't feel like I was really celebrating Christmas until I watched a Hallmark movie, but I couldn't watch them until after Christmas. And so in 2020, because we weren't having the Christmas production, I said, I get to watch the movies as they air. I wonder if anybody's talking about them. And I had no idea
Wow.
about all the other podcasts that had been out. And I started on YouTube. So I just was making videos for like a good 10 months. And then it wasn't until Tyler Hines shared a review that I did for It Was Always You. He shared it in his Instagram stories. And then people found me and they began to ask me what I thought of other movies. And so that's how the podcast platform kind of started. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yes.
So you do these for YouTube and it's podcasts like Spotify and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Cool. All right. So you've been watching them for a long time.
I have. And I thoroughly enjoy them. I really, really do. I love the comfort, the warm, fuzzy feeling that I get. It's like that perfect escape that you need from the stresses of life and the reality of life and all of that. I really do.
Well, you probably just answered the questions you're going to ask me later about why I like making them, because I hear that all the time, and I also get the fuzzies in making them now, but even especially in watching them and getting to share them with people. And yeah, but to go back, so for me, I kind of, finished high school, didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And there was this inkling in me that perspective was necessary. I'm from a very small town in British Columbia. Nobody I knew was an actor. There was no, moving off to become an actor or aspiring to be one. Maybe theater, I kind of thought of. I thought about maybe being a drama teacher, something like that. So when I graduated high school, I traveled for years, and I just kind of took off and backpack on and did a lot of traveling, which kind of gave me this interesting perspective on life at that age, and kind of what is a dream, what do I want to do with the life that I have, what are the things that interest me. And storytelling always was one of those things, but I didn't think it was writing for me. Visually, there was a lot of things I loved to do, but I didn't really know anything about directing or how to get into something like that. But I did enjoy acting in high school. So I was like, I think you can do it in Vancouver. I heard Vancouver has an industry, and it's not quite Los Angeles, because that scared me a bit. So I was like, I'm going to move to Vancouver and just give it a go. And I went there and started studying, and then kind of just, you start auditioning, and I did a lot of theater. I tried stand up. That scared me. That was really hard. And but theater I really loved. And I kind of thought I might just stay on that path, but at the same time was kind of just auditioning for film and TV stuff, and then was just kind of getting bigger roles. It feels like a slow progression. Sometimes I have to reverse engineer it. There was no one moment that made me go, this is what I want to do. It was like many things that had to happen for me to kind of go down the path. And then I had to commit 100%. And a lot of people were like, you need to have a plan B. And I was like, I don't know. I've read that if you have a plan B, you'll fall back on it. And, and I didn't have one. And, knock on wood, so far it's going okay. Yeah. So that's kind of, and then, yeah.
So I was listening to another interview that you did with my friends over at It's Technically Romance. You spoke with them last year, and you mentioned how producing is something that you also wanted to get into. Is that something that you're still currently pursuing?
Yeah, so there's a couple projects I've got like in development stages. So I have had some stuff in development at Hallmark, and currently have a couple things we're trying to get off the ground. One with Mark McKinney of Kids in the Hall, and another one with do you know Colton Dunn? He's on Superstore.
Oh, I don't know.
If you watch Superstore, no. Okay, so he's also a writer of Key and Peele. If you watch the Key and Peele sketches, yeah. So we kind of have the series we've been developing for a while that we're trying to get off the ground, which has been a lot of fun. He's an incredible writer, and that's been a lot of fun, but we're still pretty early stages of development. But the idea of making something ourselves is exciting. You know, as long as you got a story that you want to tell, then it's something I'd want to do. Like, people often ask me, like, oh, just because I'm an actor, obviously I want to direct, or because there are actors I know that are directing, I would want to do it. But like one of my best friends, Peter Benson, I don't know if you know Peter Benson. Yeah, so he and I have been friends forever. So we came up together. We both kind of started doing short films and like little indie films and theater, and we're really close. And we worked. I mean, we both were aware of Color My World with Love, kind of behind, and we're trying to kind of like maybe see if that could happen. We've been trying to get a movie that we could do together over the last few years, because we're both in the Hallmark world. And we were pretty excited to get to tell that story, and we'll get to that. We're going to get to that. Yeah. Producing would be great. I love directing, but I don't really aspire to be a TV director, only in that I'm very luckily busy as an actor, and I love acting. I really do love it. Might be like some feature films, some specific story that I will want to tell, but on the production side of things, there are a few things I'd like to try to develop, and directing, it'll come when I have the resources to tell the story that I want to tell.
So I hear you mention storytelling a lot, which is one of my favorite words. As a writer, I love telling stories. I love the art of storytelling. And so I'm curious, in your medium as an actor and in the film industry, what your thoughts are about what makes a good story, or what is good storytelling?
Honesty. You know, I think as long as everybody can be telling it from their truth and with passion, that to me is the best type of storytelling. You know, like it might not be necessarily a subject matter that I'm interested in, but I can, as long as that person, as long as whatever's being told is truthful, it will affect me, and it usually will affect others. And that's usually how I'll try to approach any scene, even that I'm doing, is to try to find the truth in that moment, even if it's silly. You know, you've seen me do silly stuff, and it's just trying to find the truth in that moment with that actor. And luckily at Hallmark in particular, everybody there really also strives to do the same. And I haven't had a bad experience with an actor. I've been so lucky with the actors I've gotten to work with there. Like, everybody's strives for the same, and nobody's lazy. Everybody shows up wanting to, willing to, and waiting to, and kind of it's a wonderful world to exist in. One that I didn't know anything about kind of before. You know, you said you've been watching them for a long time, and I think Hallmark movies did air in Canada. Now they kind of air sometimes the same night, but oftentimes it would be like, you know, a month later, and it was on like the W network. It was, and it kind of didn't, even though I was aware that they were being made, I kind of didn't know what the Hallmark movies were like. I wasn't sure if they were the same as, I kind of would look at Harlequin romance novels when I was checking out at a grocery store as the same. I was like, is that the same? Is it just like good looking dudes and these on horseback on beaches? Like, I don't quite understand what it is until I kind of fell into the world. And then I was like, oh, these are like fun rom-coms where, you know, they just kind of like, they're really, I love to do them anyway.
And it's evident that you love to do them, because I know as a viewer, I think that translates so well on screen because the first movie I saw of yours was You, Me, and the Christmas Trees. And I was like, what, where have I been? Like, why is this the first movie I've been? And I've heard, people have said your name, you know, when I was like the momentum was growing for Dear Hallmark, and I was like consuming all these Hallmark movies like nobody's business. And I've heard people throw your name around, but I didn't watch the movie until You, Me, and the Christmas Trees. And so after I watched that, I watched Cranberry Christmas, which is officially my favorite. I've watched
Nice.
Blue Ridge Mountain Christmas, Love by Chance. I still have to watch Falling for Vermont. That
one. You gotta watch that one. That was a great one.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, but it's so evident that you have so much fun. I think it translates in every movie that you've done, and you're just extremely talented. So with that, what would you say was the hardest role that you've ever had to play as an actor, whether it was physically taxing, emotionally, mentally? What would you say was the hardest role you ever had to do?
There were two that quickly come to mind. One is I did this, there was a docudrama film a long time ago called Touching the Void. I don't know if you remember that. And it was like, it would go between the real person talking about the events and then a dramatized cut to version of kind of what happened. There would be like actors that would kind of like act out kind of what was actually happening and then cut back to the person talking about their experience. And there was a TV series made of it called Survivor. And it was basically, they did 10 episodes, and each episode was somebody who overcame some big circumstance. The episode I got cast in was this hockey player named Erica Durance from Los Angeles. I think he's from Los Angeles, but he was skiing, snowboarding, and he got lost on the backside of a mountain for 7 days. Got gangrene, lost his legs from the knee down, got attacked by wolves. There was crazy stuff happened to him. He was starving out there, and there was like all of these things, and he had to, he went to go, like, he needed water and like was trying to melt snow, but then they gave him hypothermia, and then kind of found a creek, then fell in water, and then kind of like all of these insane things happened to him. So I did this episode where he was talking about the experience, and then I was actually the one out there reenacting them. And we shot it in Alaska, in the middle of nowhere. We would be on a snowmobile. They would take me as far away as they could, prop me down, give me a walkie-talkie, and had this long lens so that they could kind of like follow me around. And they would just say, "You're lost." And they would just capture it all with this camera. And it was so insane to film it, because I also was like, is this safe out here? And it was, but as an actor at that point, I had just kind of come out of theater school and the thing, and I'd been doing a lot of theater, and I was like really committed emotionally to that role. And I remember being kind of scared of it as well, because I was like, I felt like I really wanted to honor his story.
Yeah.
And it was oddly isolating because I didn't have any other actor to get to work with. So,
right.
I had to bring pictures of my family to look like just all of these things, all the tools that, I had to learn to use for this. But that experience always sticks in my head as such a unique one that I got to experience kind of out in the middle of nowhere by myself. And, I think 2 months before I had finished doing this play called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll that Eric Bogosian wrote. It's a one-man play. I was on stage for 90 minutes by myself. I played 12 different characters. So there was this, it was interesting for me to come from that role to get to go do that. And it was almost like the two kind of needed each other. Almost like it just was the perfect bigger role to get coming out of theater, to get to go do something like that.
Yeah.
What was the other one I was just going to say? That there was a show they shot here called Combat Hospital, and I auditioned to play this soldier who had PTSD. And the night before is kind of when they cast me, or they gave me the script. I didn't know the script. I had all these monologues, and they're like, "He needs to have a Southern accent." And I was like, I didn't audition with a Southern accent. Like, I auditioned, didn't hear anything for a while. Then I don't know if something happened, somebody else could do it, but all of a sudden I booked it. And the night before I look at it, I had all of this dialogue, and they want me to do it in a Southern accent. And he's like emotional, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. The director, I didn't know. I would never do this. I guess I'd had enough experience. I had been on a TV show to know, how it would operate on set. And I managed to get his phone number, and he was staying at a hotel. And I said, they just gave me the script. There's so much dialogue. I'm asking if we can start shooting the other actors' coverage first, so that I have a few times to run through it. I'm going to have my lines in front of me. It's not because I'm lazy. It's just that I haven't had time to kind of process all of this on top of it with the accent. And he's like, I am so sorry that this happened. I will do that for you 100%. And usually that doesn't happen. Usually the guest star that rolls in that day, their coverage tends to get done first. So the leading actors can have more time to prepare. So those two situations I can remember being very nerve-wracking, and there was just a lot of feelings going on. And in the end, both of them, there's something about working in a state of chaos too. Like I can panic if I don't feel prepared. However, sometimes trusting and just being in that moment and using that feeling of panic and chaos actually pays off well, and actually comes through in a way that's necessary for the character, or at least for those two. I wouldn't want to do it as a doctor or lawyer, and that I've had that too. Like playing a doctor for years on Saving Hope, it was very nerve-wracking because the dialogue is so specific. You get him a tetanus booster, cross-match 4 units of blood, start 2 liters of saline at 200 hour, hang 2 grams NSAID, 5 milligrams per liter Jensen fentanyl stat. And you're saying that, like, those words will never leave my memory, because you cannot say anything wrong, because any doctor listening will be like, no, I don't believe it. And you're saying lines like that all the time while you're walking around and putting on these gloves, and it's hot in there and the gloves don't quite fit, and there's like, you got to reset all the time because of the blood. It was like a very intense environment, but super fun to do.
Wow. Now the question is, have you ever been back to Alaska? I
have not been back to Alaska, no.
Okay. I was curious.
That's it. I've not been back. I've been to Churchill, Manitoba to shoot, which was also really cool. Churchill is the polar bear capital of the world. So we were out there filming, and they do these really cool experiences where they call them tundra buggies. So it's basically a massive Greyhound bus with like monster truck tires on it. And these things just cruise out into the middle of the tundra, and then they connect to these other ones that are these like high class living units with like meals and stuff out there. And people go out there for like 7 nights and they sleep out there. And you see like, northern lights and stuff. And then you just watch polar bears roaming around. So we had to get into these buggies and get taken out into the middle of nowhere. And I played this helicopter pilot. They were diamond miners. And we only had like 4 hours of sunlight a day. So we'd get up early, take these tundra buggies out in the middle of nowhere. We had these tents set up, and it looked like we were out there kind of living kind of off the land, sort of was the, well, not off the land, but like out there mining. But we had 4 locals that were surrounding us with shotguns, because there were polar bears that will come and attack you. So they had to shoot them if they came. So you're in the scene. It was 30 below. Your mouth would freeze the second you took all the stuff off. You're trying to, and as you're talking, your mouth would slowly stop, and then you're kind of talking. Everybody's kind of got the Clint Eastwood thing going on, and then you're thinking there might be a polar bear that's about to attack me. It was such an intense experience. Everybody's door in Churchill is left open. And if there's a horn and you're walking down the street, you run into somebody's house because there's a polar bear around.
Wow. I need you to write a book. These experiences, oh my goodness, that is amazing. Oh, wow. I don't know how to transition to Hallmark from that. We're going to do it. We're going to electric slide right on into Hallmark. So, Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. You did a Miracle of Christmas movie with the ever so wonderful Nikki DeLoach, Cranberry Christmas. But is this outside of Christmas? Is this your first Hallmark movie and mystery movie doing Color My World with Love?
So I did a series with Allison Sweeney.
Yes! The Chronicle Mysteries!
The Chronicle Mysteries.
I forget. Yes! I'm sorry.
Did you watch any of those? Have you seen those?
Have I seen them all? And the answer is yes. And I'm waiting for another one. That one.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, that's an interesting thing as an actor too, to like coming into Hallmark, I didn't know that there was Hallmark, and there was like a Hallmark drama, Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. I didn't realize that there were separate things. I think the first one I did was Love by Chance. And then the following year I did Falling for Vermont. And during that time I was on Saving Hope. So they had called a few, I hadn't done, I think my first Christmas movie I know was Blue Ridge Mountain Christmas, but 3 seasons leading up to that, I was working and unfortunately couldn't do them. And I did not know that the Christmas season was a thing at Hallmark. So I love it. I'm just so happy to be a part of it. And at the time I was like, oh, it's weird, a Christmas movie. Okay. And then the next year I was like, oh, they're doing another one. I wonder how many of these they do, right? 100,000 per year. And you're like, okay. Yeah. So I had done those two movies, and then I got a call. They're like, so there's this wheel of movies, and it's something different for Hallmark, and they're like these murder mystery kind of things, these mystery films, and it's going to be, she's a podcaster, you're a journalist. And I was like, that's a great idea for a series. I'm a huge podcast fan. Allie's a huge podcast fan. She's the one who came up with the idea. What's all we do is talk podcasts on the show, and the different movie ideas for the future. And that opportunity came up, and I was like, great. And we shot those 5, and then from there went and did my first Christmas one, Blue Ridge Mountain Christmas. So, and that one I think was Movies and Mysteries. So now I'm starting to see, like, I think that if you do some of the wheel of movies on Movies and Mysteries, then they try to maybe keep some of the actors over there. Sometimes they cross over, but there tended to be, and I had a conversation with an executive at Hallmark, that they like me over there. And that's kind of where I landed, even though I kind of come over and, I think last year's was over on Hallmark. So I don't know. I like the Hallmark ones because they're a bit lighter, and it's like, I get to kind of do the comedy that I love to do. Mm-hmm. But the Movies and Mysteries were fun too. Especially, I really enjoyed playing that character with Allie. He was a bit more stuck up, and just a much different type of character than the other ones I've played over there.
I like that it took place in Pennsylvania, because I'm in Pennsylvania. So I was like,
oh, are you?
Hey, I'm in Philadelphia.
Okay, did you recognize it as? Were you like, or were you like, it looks like it?
I was like,
yeah. I know. What are you gonna do? I mean,
that's why I was like, it is what it is. I still enjoyed the series nonetheless. I can't do everything. So I was just like,
it's hard, right? You're like, it's like Blue Ridge Mountain Christmas. People are like, that does not look like the Blue Ridge. I live there. It does not. You're like, I know. So we're gonna have to pretend we're not. Only from Vermont. It doesn't look like Vermont. I'm like, I know it's Langley. They're all shot in Langley. Let's not review that part of it. We know that. That aside, do you like the characters in the story? Do you have fun?
Yes.
See, that's the problem. That actually reminds me of people who've got things to say. I on the one last year, You, Me, and the Christmas Trees, as a joke, there was a moment with Danica where we're at the tree, and I'm telling the story of mm-hmm. all the ornaments.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be funny to make her laugh, and I said, "This is from when I was born 27 years ago." And, right. Obviously, I'm not 27 years old.
Right.
But the way it was cut, it kind of like the joke didn't land. So it was like, are we supposed to believe that he is 27 years old? And I got all these messages. I'm like, it was a joke. I guess I should have said like 18 or something. Like, I don't know what the funny number was, but I thought 27 was a funny number. But
I got it. I got the joke.
Yeah, I get it. I was like, it's a joke.
Yeah, like, it's not supposed to be taken seriously here. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, no, lots of people were like, 27. There's no way. It was like the movie was done for them. They were out. They're like, I'm out. Click off. On to the next. I'll 0 rating.
Yes. Tomatoes. No, but
yeah.
So with Color My World with Love, this movie is so beautiful. It stars Lily D. Moore, and help me pronounce his last name. Is it David?
David DeSanctis. Yeah. DeSanctis.
Okay. Lily D. Moore and David DeSanctis. What was it like for you when you read the script? What was that feeling like? Like when you first finished?
I cried on the second page.
Dang!
I'm not gonna lie. Like when she's sitting there painting, and that woman comes up and makes a comment, like, I didn't know they could paint like that. What do you mean they? Oh, and I was like, just the way the mother defends her in this like very calm way, but also in this teaching moment. And I loved the script, and it was something so different. And to get to be involved with it and getting to work with some of my best friends, Erica Durance and I were on Saving Hope for 5 seasons. So, we hit the ground running, and we haven't worked together since. And, we've kept in touch. So actually, I don't have my, I'm talking to you on my phone, but David sends a text out every single morning to all of us. There's about 12 of us on a chain, and it's been since the day we wrapped, and it'll probably be for the rest of our lives. And it's just a breakdown of what his day is. And it usually starts with wake up, right, which is done. And then it's hardcore tennis or casual tennis. He's a very, very good tennis player. His parents are incredible tennis players, and they go there at about 6 a.m. They play very intense tennis.
Oh.
Then he goes for an F45 workout. Then he'll talk about what he'll have for breakfast, and then kind of the different conferences he'll go to or the conversations he's going to have that day, playlists that he makes, which he then sends out to all of us. That will be like, this is a Wednesday playlist, this is a whatever playlist, or this just is how I'm feeling, or this is a playlist for the last half of the film, which really touched me this way. And then it ends with like, I'm probably going to do some karaoke tonight. I might have dessert. I'm not too sure. I might have a glass of wine. Not too sure. I think we're doing steak for dinner. And then it's just this full, every single day gets sent out. And it's so inspiring in a way just that makes me think about, what do I want to do today? Like, what is my day? Am I just my day just happening, or am I going to plan my day? And the way he wakes up and kind of creates his day, we love it. We love getting it. And, Lily just graduated from high school, so we got this incredible photo of her at graduation. We're all crying, Lily, you go, and she's got one of the first tickets. It's such a cool family to have, and one that we, going into it, we did not know what to expect.
Sure.
And God, we learned so much. Like, I remember on the first day, so like David and I, we played, brothers from another mother on the show. And
first of all, I love that. I said, "Oh, this ain't my mama's Hallmark." I loved it.
And we, like, we kind of get to know each other. So he made me some music. I sent him some music, and we talked a lot about music and, some jokes and things. And one morning we were just sitting there. We have a scene we had to shoot at this bus stop, and he kind of cries in my lap in the scene. And before the cameras roll, we're just sitting there. I'm like, "How was breakfast this morning?" He was like, "Good. I had went scrambled eggs, and I had some hash browns." And I'm like, "Great." I said, "Do you drink coffee?" He goes, "I do sometimes." Because I didn't today. Sometimes I wake up and I feel confident enough to not need it. I was like, "What? Am I not confident in a long time?" Because
you question yourself. Like,
quote, that was a great quote. Sometimes I just wake up and I feel confident enough to not need it. Anyway, that one really stuck with me and makes me think of it in the morning. I'm like, I'm just gonna have one cup.
One cup of confidence today.
Yeah, I just need one cup of confidence.
Man.
It was a very special experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, it translates so clearly on screen. I was going to ask if you and David got close during the filming, but even just hearing you talk about it, it's so evident.
He is funny and dangerously hilarious. The stuff he'll say, just woo! It's amazing. And the two of them just had so much fun chemistry right away. And the whole team did. The first thing we did, it doesn't always get to happen, but we all went out for dinner. We had a nice dinner, kind of like the Friday, or like 2 nights before we started filming. So we could make sure everybody can meet. Lily also is a huge Hallmark fan.
Oh,
so she got to go from, she watches movies all the time with her mom. And her mother is the biggest Hallmark fan. So she arrived going like, "Benjamin Ayres, Peter Benson," like the whole thing was a huge deal, And she's got a special cameo at the end, and it's like, oh man, she's got a nice little like featured moment in the film. It's so cool to get to see somebody, especially for Lily, who is such a big Hallmark fan, watch them all the time. She's never auditioned for them, and then you're the lead of a movie. You're the lead in this world, and it it's gonna make me emotional think about it. But sometimes you'd look over her and she'd be crying. I'm like, "Are you okay?" And some days, and she goes, I just can't believe this is happening. This is my dream come true." And I'm like, "Oh, kiddo, it's like, come over and give her a hug, and we talk about it." And she's like, I just can't believe I'm here, and I just don't want this to end, and I miss you guys already." And I'm like, "We're always going to be here, and we talk all the time, and I'll be just doing something, and it's like FaceTime's coming in, and it's Lily, we catch up, and yeah. And you know, it was really infectious too, just that like reminder of how lucky we are to get to be doing this for a
Mhm.
living, and also to get to tell these stories. And you know, it was just the most emotionally charged film I've
Mhm.
ever done. And in all regards, you know, we laughed and cried every day, you know.
Man, one of my favorite scenes was with you and David's character Brad. So Nick and Brad, they're in the arcade, and he's at the I forget what you call it, but the thing where you try the
Yeah,
claw,
the claw. Yeah.
the claw. He's at the claw, and you guys are talking about Kendall, who is Lily D. Moore's character. And the scene was so small and seemed kind of matter of fact, but it stuck out to me with this one line. And your character, Nick, says it. Love is not a gooey word. It's when you trust someone with your whole heart. And it also means they can hurt your heart a little too. And I was like, golly, Bobcats. That's a line. And it's so funny that it's coming from a Hallmark movie, because it's almost like, in a way, love can be seen as gooey a little bit, but I love the groundedness in which, like, the whole movie in and of itself, like that line just stuck out. Like, how was it doing that scene for you?
No, the interesting thing about having these conversations with somebody who's only viewed the film, and then you know, like the second you brought up that scene, I get a flood of memories of that
Mm,
day.
mm-hmm.
So much going on. Like our experience as actors, you know, is quite small between action and cut on a set in a whole day. The rest of the time is spent just being there. So you know,
Mm,
oftentimes when people are like, you know, what was it like to be on that movie, you watch it as what was it like to be on the outcome of the movie. The
mm,
outcome of the movie is something so different than the experience of it, and the experience of it is so different than the outcome. I can have a horrible experience that has a great outcome in a film, and vice versa.
yeah.
uh, and that scene was our first scene together.
Shut up!
Yes, so it's the first scene we shot. You know, I remember thinking it's going to be an arcade. We weren't sure. Like, they really made it look like an arcade. And at first, we weren't sure if they were going to. It was like nighttime. It had this kind of moody kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
There was actually an opening sequence um, that is not in the cut, where two guys are kind of making fun of him. They're just kind of snickering in the
Mhm.
corner. And David looks at him and he says, "Do you want to take a picture? It'll last longer." And they sort of go, "What?" And he goes, "No, no, seriously." And he grabs their phone and just takes a little selfie with them, kind of pats them on the back. And then they both kind of laugh and walk away. And it was one of those moments I kind of knew, like, you know, and then from there, then he comes and sits down, and then I walk into the scene. And so there was like a lot happening all off the top. And
Yeah.
we knew that there was a possibility that that might not make it, just due to time and stuff, but it was such a beautiful little moment.
Hmm.
And it really started to, it was this defensive thing that Nick didn't get. He would normally interfere in a situation like that, but he also knows that Brad's able to take care of himself in these situations and
Yeah.
do it in a way that is so beautiful and heartwarming and funny
Yeah.
and biting, kind of like all these things, because you know. So when I watched it and saw that scene, and that opening bit isn't there, I'm reminded that it was
Mm.
driven from that opening moment.
Hmm.
Uh, but I loved his stillness in it, and the way he touches my shoulder, you know, and says it's going to be okay. I got this, and also sort of reinforces, which he does. He'll see the hurt in Nick, and as much as Nick is trying to help Brad helps Nick a
Right.
lot emotionally, and
Yeah.
I just think that that's so cool, you know, that their relationship allows for that. It's not one-sided, you know. They really have a good time together, and they learn a lot from each other, and emotionally are there for each other.
It
Yeah.
was so beautiful to watch. What would you say is something that you brought differently to the character of Nick than your other characters that you've played? Let's just stick to a Hallmark movie and mystery land.
Right. Um, the accent. You might not have heard it, but it was an internal accent monologue that I do. It's so good. It's sort of like this, yeah. It's got like this real sort of cocky vibe, yeah. But on the outside, it's not. I'm kidding. You know, I don't often. For me, the biggest difference for me sometimes in these characters is just the music in which I'll approach it with, and for me, it's just looking into the eyes of the other actor, and oftentimes I'm playing kind of the same type of version of
Okay.
character.
Mm-hmm.
So, in particular this one, so like I just know kind of who I am in my skin when I'm playing a lawyer and a doctor. The rest of it, I let the script be the one that gives me specific details. So like, he's a contractor, so I'm not going to be like, oh, I need to have dirty nails and things like that. But I honestly don't approach the Hallmark movies, as far as my character goes, a whole lot different from one another.
Mm.
Honestly speaking, and again, the only big difference for me is how I approach it as far as my day on set, what my character's music is, because that's a big
Mm-hmm.
one for me. The music I'll listen to his character, and it changes a bit depending on kind of who I'm acting opposite. But I try to just stick to the world created by the writer
Yeah.
and helping the director with his vision.
Yeah. That reminds me something of Tyler Hines said about, because he has like he acts, produces, and directs, and it kind of echoes what you just said. Like as an actor, your main job is to really bring to life the vision of the director and what they see for that.
You've got a short
Right.
window of time, and you're
Yeah.
not coming in. It's not like these roles are, I've got to lose 30 pounds. I've got an
Mhm.
accent, there's the weight of the world, which creates a hunched shoulder. Like I'm not doing animal work or all this type of specific tools that I would use as an actor for some roles. These ones in particular really require you just to kind of, in most ways, come as yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
So that is, how I approach most of these. But that still requires a lot of work to get to there. The hardest thing you can do is tell an actor, just be yourself on camera. It's really hard to just be yourself. Even just coming in and just feeling calm and natural when action's called is not easy.
Yeah.
And I've seen it, I've seen many small roles on some of these movies where an actor will come in and be really nervous and unfortunately get cut right out of a film because it's really hard sometimes to say these lines and do it naturally
Yeah.
and not
And
seem
that,
like you're acting and have a good time.
yes. Yes. And that's why I give like, and it's the ones who make it feel like the actors where I see, oh, I can do that. I know that they're doing their job well because I know for a fact I can't do that. But they're making it look easy because of the craft and because of how long. Like there really is a craft and a work at acting that I don't think people, excuse me, recognize or respect. Which I give y'all props and kudos
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
there is, and it's an interesting one in particular with Hallmark, because there's a formula and there's not. Like I know a lot of
Yeah.
actors that are like, oh, I'll just never do Hallmark because I can't figure out the formula of how to act them, and I'm like, there isn't a formula to act. It's just that if you're a bad actor and you don't know how to make some of this dialogue sound natural or make it work or have the confidence to reach out to the writer and talk about maybe making some changes that you feel are necessary for your character because you're coming at it from such a single point of view, then yes, it's going to be very hard. If you just come out and say the lines in this world, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, indeed. So, what would you say? What would you want people to, after watching Color My World with Love, what would you want them to walk away with?
Oh, I mean, it's about, there are so many things that it's about, but
Yeah.
ultimately, it's this wonderful story between a mother and a daughter, and the ultimate moment of having to let go. And it's
Yeah.
inevitable, it's going to come. As a mother or father, you don't get to decide when that's going to come. And the fact that, Lily character, she finds love early in her life and wants to kind of like expand and go out and do this thing is really hard to have to come to terms with. And I think that there will be a lot of reflection for a lot of people watching it, especially if you have kids, but even you're going to recognize in your own parents that they were able to do that for you. And, you know, like it's easy to always be looking down kind of at your own kids or your relationship with your siblings and stuff. But, you know, I think looking back up, it reinforced some things with my own parents in a way. The fact that they allowed me at an early age to leave the small town and like just travel at 19. I'm just like on a plane, I'm going to Australia, as far away as I can get. I cannot imagine letting my kids do that. I give them so much credit for allowing me to go out and find myself. You know, that's such a weird thing. But at that age, you know, like I'd read those books and I loved Jack Kerouac. And I'm like, I'm going on the road. And I felt like I needed to go do that thing. And then you realize, like, wait a minute, am I running from something or am I running toward, like, what is this? And then you slowly start to like question everything. And I think that that's an important thing to discover yourself, but that's what it was for me. It wasn't finding myself. It was understanding how everything works and how I fit within it. And, you know, in some ways that's acting, you know, what's my role within this world?
Wow. Well, Sir Benjamin of Ayres, thank you so much.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you so much. Before we go, is there anything you want to say to the viewers and listeners out there? I'm gonna have you have the last word.
Oh, well, first of all, I want to say you're amazing. And you're awesome. And I want to talk about a little incident that happened, which I love. Kids had gone to bed here. I went downstairs to watch a little show. I had a couple of tequilas. I was hanging out. I was kind of rolling on upstairs, kind of getting ready for bed, and I'm flicking through, just kind of doing some scrolling. And I opened Instagram, and sometimes you just accidentally hit one of the, like, I didn't know, like, I was like, I hit your live. You're like, Benjamin Ayres is in the house. And I was like, I am, but I'm like, do I? And I was just like, hit it. And we just kind of went live. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And we kind of, you know, that was kind of our first introduction. Which was awesome. You were so good. And I was like, do you do that every Friday night? Is that a thing where you just kind of like hang out and chat and talk? I didn't know what that was, but I kind of was on there and really enjoyed talking to you, which is kind of what brought us to this moment. And thank you for being so cool and letting me crash that night. But I remember afterwards kind of like getting off. And then I went to just kind of go back on Instagram. But sometimes it'll be like, so-and-so is live. So then I all of a sudden popped back into the room. And I'm like, I'm not. I kept coming in and out of your room.
That was a wild moment, and I don't usually do those. Like, I just thought, oh, let me just randomly go live, and then Benjamin, like, I was literally just talking about you probably like 10 or 15 minutes prior, because they were asking me like my favorite actors and things, and you're one of my favorite actors, and then you pop in and I'm like, what is going on right now? that was pretty cool. That was such an enjoyable moment. That was really cool. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, so what I want to say is, you know, first of all, thank you to all the viewers. Thank you so much for doing this, because it's your hard work and dedication. You know, you've got a full-time job, and then you're doing this on top of it, but you know, you're helping spread the love, spread the word, and we really appreciate it. So I just want to thank you and thank all the viewers and everybody listening right now, because you know, we wouldn't get to do this if it wasn't for you, and we're just happy that it gives you the warm and fuzzies.
Oh, well, you guys, he's Benjamin Ayres. I am Dara. This is Dear Hallmark, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.
Bye.